Hello and welcome to the latest episode of We're In. I'm Josh Mason, solutions architect here at Synack. And today I've got with me Teri Green. Teri is the vice president of technology at Elevate, a nonprofit focused around committed to equitable energy solutions. You're also at Light Technology Solutions as the CISO, and you've recently put out a book and you're doing some talks around AI ethics, and you're doing some great things, Teri. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Teri, everyone likes a good hacker origin story. How did you get into cybersecurity?
Believe it or
How'd you
not,
get your,
I'm big on history. If you could tell, like doing history month, and when I kind of like when we thought about how so many things, everything we looked at, whether it was TV, whether it was the Huxtables back then. I'm kind of telling my age. I look younger than what I am, but like the truth of the matter is, like looking at these TV shows, it was the first time I was able to see people that looked like me become lawyers and doctors and not just basketball players. And I'll never forget, I fell into a library one day and I fell upon Ada Lovelace. And Ada Lovelace,
Mm,
even though a lot of us don't talk about it, she was actually the first computer programmer, and she was a woman, right? And to be able to kind of think about back in the days how those things were kind of looked over, it just made me want to be able to kind of put myself on the map so I can make a difference.
that's huge. Um, you are currently finishing up a doctoral degree at Purdue. Um, what's it like being kind of at the top on the academic side as well on cybersecurity?
I'm gonna tell you like this. To be honest, I don't have not one cert, Josh. Okay, but I am working on my sixth degree. I don't know if you know, I went from orphan to CIO, and the only things that were consistent in my life was church and education. So those are the things that kind of hold close to me. I'll be pursuing my CISSP in October. I actually won ISC squared certification scholarship, so I'm doing it. But
Nice.
and it's only because I don't want to ask my team to do something I'm not willing to do.
That's huge. And you've been at some of the big companies in the industry before you even got into the CIO or CISO spot quite a while
Yeah,
at
I know.
1111.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I worked at the IBMs, the TransUnions, um, and then I had this aha moment, right? And I realized these people were paying for my brain. And even though you had so many people talking about like wanting to sit at the table, I was never one of the people that wanted to sit at the table. I was kind of pushed into leadership relatively early. Um, I was a junior in college when I got my first role. I was the assistant chief engineer at
Mhm.
Lale, the number one Spanish radio station in Chicago, and I had interned at WEN. So I was like one of those things. Everything that thing I touched just kind of go to go, and I just kept going with it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. It's 2026. The thing everyone is talking about is AI everywhere. And you dove in and learned a lot, and you've been kind of guiding a lot of things in AI. You came up with a framework.
Mhm.
Tell us about it. It's
So the
better in your
framework is
words.
TEST, right? The framework is called TEST: touch, execute, store, and trust. And the reason I kind of did this is because I saw so many security teams being asked to be able to kind of implement AI, like it was modern tool sets and modern technology, and they had no true way to evaluate the associated risks. When you think about our standard or traditional security review process, well, that was only really for applications and infrastructure. AI doesn't behave that particular way. It has a different component to it. And unfortunately, it's a big decision too set where it's actually touching data. It does have the power to execute workflows. But my biggest thing is it can actually influence trust. And have you imagine having a tool that can push something out and sound so accurate and be so wrong, right? AI has that possibility, so it's a reason why I create this framework so that we can actually evaluate the associated risk. Because I think if you can't model it, you can't secure it.
That's huge. And it goes beyond the vulnerabilities. You're hitting on some of the ways AI is being used, being trusted, being turned into an advisor in a lot of ways. beyond just like vulnerabilities it has inherently. Those who have tuned in to other We're In podcasts, I've been talking to a lot of our Synack Red Team members who have found some vulnerabilities in chatbots, in different AI models, and yours is about the usage.
Yeah. So when you think about this, I think about it all the time. I just actually was sitting in a CISO. I just was a table leader for a CISO dinner, and we had more than 40 CISOs and CIOs from Missouri at these particular dinners. Some of the biggest companies, and they're all plagued by this thing in AI. And I stepped back and I said, "Well, think about it right now. Cybersecurity, we never had a full grasp on it. For a long time, cybersecurity people said the wrong thing. They said people were 70% of the problem. They were unpredictable. They were the weakest link. Well, and they're actually the greatest vector in the in the era of AI. They're the biggest associated risk. So if you couldn't fix them then, how do you actually fix it now, where they're actually putting things inside of your two sets? And AI is accelerating faster than we can blink.
How is AI changing cybersecurity as a whole?
Well, AI is accelerating both sides of cybersecurity. You have attackers using AI to automate phishing, vulnerability discoveries faster than ever before. And then on the other side, you have defenders who can also analyze massive data sets. They can detect anomalies a little bit quicker and they can respond to threats faster. But the real shift isn't the technology, it's actually decision speed. So organizations that actually learn to combine human judgment with AI insight are the ones that will win, in my opinion.
That's huge. That's huge right there. What then
What worries me?
is the right way to use that? You've created a book on AI ethics. Um, is that the first way of like putting this into something that you could hand to someone?
To be honest, I started with our smallest data set, right? To be able to kind of shift the norm just like we think about it, because the book that I created was the first ever children's book to create, to teach ethics and AI, cybersecurity, and then I built a digital citizenship curriculum to it, right? To be able to kind of build
Mm,
upon those nuances. But you start with the kiddos because they're the future. They are the new generation. And right now they are dealing with things like deep fakes. They don't know how to spot those out. So I started with them because that is the set of people we couldn't control when we were trying to. But if we just started younger and start teaching them what ethics really looks like, because there's a thin line between ethical and unethical, I think we have a stronger chance of having a stronger population.
that's huge. I think about if folks had told us when, we were first in the first AOL chat rooms, a long time ago, what to be worried about and how to actually handle things and be smart about all of this technology. How many fewer problems would we have now? Um, can't go back and fix things, but we can
Yeah.
make things better going forward by working that problem from the start. I love that.
Yeah. And look, and I'm be honest, if you ask me right now what worries me most about AI, it isn't AI itself, right? It's how quickly you see organizations deploying AI without fully understanding how it touches the actual data, the decisions, and the trust boundaries. So AI doesn't just process information; it influences decisions at scale. And I look at it like this means that governance and security they must evolve just as fast. And unfortunately, AI is outpacing governance.
That's so true. Um, it's a tool like any other, but it's a tool that doesn't come with all of the instructions on what you can use it to do, and it does seem like the hammer that works everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's really good that we have people who are taking the time to figure all this out because I don't think there's enough of us who,
Not.
think about it at that level.
We're just gonna call you Josh, and you're gonna figure it out for us.
Oh no, I'm too busy. um, but you're presenting on this at a lot of talks. You're one of the few people who's presenting at SAN's upcoming AI summit in DC in a couple months, in a couple weeks.
I am, and I just found out I'm actually I'll actually be speaking a 30-minute session at the Stand Security Summit in Disney in June as well.
Oh, cool. What's the give a taste of what your talk is going to be covering? I think we've got
Yeah.
a little bit of an idea, but
Listen, check this out. I got this, I'm kind of quirky, like when it comes to marketing. So in my afterlife, not my afterlife, because it was why I was working at IBM. I was actually Grammy nominated. So I actually was a artist, right? And I always go back to writing, which is why I actually go to what I'm strong at. I'm a good writer, right? And it's probably all of the thesis statements, going to Penn State for my master's was hard, right? But I would say this. Um, I got this quirky thing I tell people, AI, it's artificial, you are the intelligence. And it's just kind of giving them some practical tool sets they can actually utilize. So the hopes is you have these leaders come in, they'll be able to have a practical tool they can be able to utilize to evaluate the risk associated and be able to kind of figure out the right questions to ask when actually trying to figure out what tool sets associated to AI they're pulling in their environment. Um, because most organizations are not focusing on the model, so I'm trying to basically teach them, hey, the real risk is usually the workflow around the model, right? So lesson literally, what the data is touching in the system, what actions can it execute, what's getting stored, what trust the output, and that's how we come up with tests. But they'll have some workflows and some sets to utilize walking out of that meeting, and I'm
that's
excited.
huge. That's awesome. Um, what is one thing you wish everyone knew about AI that they might
Uh,
not be hearing?
It's artificial. They are the intelligent. So garbage in, garbage out. Remember we said that for years. They're not watching what they're actually putting in these data sets. You can still manipulate the output, but this is why I said when you have things like AI that can actually produce things and you trust the outcome. Right now, it don't even do real algorithms, and people don't even know that it's based on the LLM. That's the technical paralysis that people are not really understanding. And then
Mhm.
quantum is coming. It's gonna move even faster, right? Because the transistor in which the LLMs are sitting on is still obsolete at this point, and once that's exploded, we're never gonna be able to catch it. So just being okay, with knowing that they can't solve every problem, just being focused on the problems in which they can solve and look focus on the small wins. You're not gonna get the whole thing and be okay with that.
Is there you've
Do you well, you
dove into
yeah,
AI and learned a lot.
like you
What
said, I
would you
learned a lot.
recommend for other people who want to learn more about
Um
AI and how to use it properly?
I would say start with the basics, right? Same thing with cybersecurity. We was actually looking for the newest tool sets. It's the same thing when you think about how we went through the big cloud adoption. Remember, you had so many organizations that were lackadaisical. They didn't want to get their data up. They were worried about how it was going to come down. It's the same thing. It took some knowledge. It took some training. However, you have to be a little bit more intentional when you're dealing with tool sets like AI because it's moving at a rapid speed, and it can actually move quicker at scale. So you just have to be able to kind of get your foot wet, and stop thinking it's going to replace security professionals because I don't think it is. I do think it will change cybersecurity jobs. But it won't replace them. Um, so I don't know. So people have to start with the basics. That's what I tell people. Start with the basics. Know what you're actually touching and understand what you're putting into the tool set. What is PII? I don't want to hear that. Name the damn thing. Is it the social security number? Is it the name? Is it the address? Name it. Stop giving all these acronyms and actually name what you're actually studying about.
Yes, yes. The jargon and the acronyms that we hide behind, uh, that we use to try to make life maybe easier, or it's either trying to make life easier or trying to gatekeep. I don't know. I'm hoping it's to make life easier. Unfortunately, it also does the other.
It does.
And I'm with you. If we are straightforward with our language and explain it to folks, everyone will get it.
Yeah.
And what you pointed out, the person who understands how to use AI is going to be the one who ends up succeeding in the future. Is not the person who's worried about AI replacing them.
No.
A lot of leaders have said that. My buddy Jason Haddix, he's been leaning into AI, and he said the exact same thing on another recording that I did with him. And you two are not singularities either. This is the common theme. It's always the person who understands how to use the tool set, who knows how to use the technology, that doesn't need to worry about the technology, right?
Yeah. But this is what I like. It's about the basics. Though. Like if you think about cybersecurity, it's fundamentally about judgment, context, and ethics, right? And AI can analyze patterns, but humans must decide what risk is acceptable. You cannot give that power to a tool set, or you'll be dealing with the breaches we've been dealing with. Like, remember we had a breach, the AI tool went in, accepted something, and then we realized that it wasn't my company, but it was a company that was over the news that had a really big AI breach, and that's because they were allowing it to
Yeah,
execute. You can't eradicate the human element, and that's how you stop the tool. That's where humans should sit.
that's so true. That's so true. And that is like the root of security, isn't it's the fact of if we don't actively plan for it, then we've
Yeah.
made a decision that we're okay with whatever happens if, you know, we don't plan for it.
Yeah. Right, right, right.
We've accepted this
See?
outcome. People usually don't
So,
like hearing that, especially after a breach, but
you know what I'm realizing though, Josh? I've been in this arena for about 18 years and I've been an executive for 13. And one thing is people don't like the truth. I don't care what industry you're in. Um, but AI is already inside most organizations, whether they wanted it or not. And they're still sitting here talking about AI policy, right? But if you're using Microsoft, you got Copilot, they force it on you. If you're using Google, you got Gemini, they force it on you. Like you have to be realistic about where you are in the organization, and they don't even understand the tool set that's using them. They just, but they still buying them, you know.
yep, yep. Uh, if we're not conscious of it, if we don't make policy around it, put procedures in place, you run into the same issues you do when you don't do that around security or proper usage. It's gonna bite someone in the butt.
I got this one thing, like in relation to my framework, I always say, when you think about what should leaders be doing right now about AI risk, and it's three
Mm,
simple things. They should inventory where AI is already being used inside the environment, like I just gave two examples. They should define the governance around that data exposure, right? Is it intentional? Is it accidental? Because it does happen, right? And then train your employees on responsible AI use, right? Because whether leadership approves it or not, like I said, it's happening.
you kind of just described the tier one of the CIS 18, but for saying AI instead of security. I love it.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense though. It
Hey,
makes so much sense. Like,
who would have guessed?
I don't know. Some security people.
I love it. I love it. Terry, where can people get more information that you're sharing? What's the best way to hear the latest from you?
So you can actually go to my website, CodeQuest, when it's called the ethics engine, .com. Um, so the children book that you did mention, it has sold over 40,000 copies, or is it 47, something like that. And
Well,
it is sold everywhere as well. So from Walmart to Barnes and Noble, and I didn't expect it. I'm not even getting the residual from it. I'm taking the money to put it towards scholarships for kiddos, because educational institutions are having some issues there. Or you can follow me on LinkedIn, real simple, Teri Green. I'm just simple, Teri Green.
awesome. Terry, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been wonderful. This has been great information for folks. And yeah, folks, if you want to hear more, follow Terry on LinkedIn and her website and grab the book. And if you're enjoying this, tune in next time and look for us on YouTube and all the places that We're In podcast is playing.